QR codes, what are they and how can we use them? I'm Hewie Poplock. A QR code, or quick response code, is a type of matrix barcode or two-dimensional barcode, first designed in 1994 for the automotive industry in Japan. A barcode is a machine-readable optical label that contains information about the item to which it's attached. In practice, QR codes often contain data for a locator, identifier, or a tracker that points to a website or an application. A QR code uses 4 standardized encoding modes: numeric, alphanumeric, byte and binary, and kanji, to store data efficiently. Extensions may also be used. The quick response system became popular outside the automotive industry due to its fast readability and greater storage capacity compared to the standard UPC barcodes. Applications include product tracking, item identification, time tracking, document management, and general marketing. A QR code consists of black squares arranged in a square grid on a white background, which can be read by imaging devices such as a camera and processed using Reed-Solomon error correction until the image can be appropriately interpreted. The required data is then extracted from the patterns that are present in both horizontal and vertical components of the image. Last week, here on Tech for Seniors, we discussed using QR codes to share with emergency responders. There are various ways in which you could do that, and here are some of them. So, how do we create a QR code? Well, there's some free websites, and when I say free, I have that in quotes. There are some examples of QR stuff: 𝐓𝐅𝐒 and �GoQRMe.me. QR stuff has several different ways in which you can generate QR codes for various items, as you can see here. Although they do have a free version, if you're going to become a full subscriber, it takes away some limitations. One of that limitation includes scan limits. On the free user, you get 50 scans, and that's it per barcode. I believe it's per month. They don't say, but if I put up a QR code that I generated from there on Tech for Seniors, and we get 100 people in there, and 50 or 60 want to use that QR code, we're going to run out of uses of it. And so that might not be the best way to go, because it's $7.50 to $12 a month, depending upon which plan you choose. But that can get quite expensive if you're only using them occasionally. QRCodeGenerator.com also has several different QR codes that you can generate. It's quite easy to use, but they also have a starter package, an advanced, and a professional package. And in this case, you only get 2 codes, or actually in the starter, which is $6 a month. GoQR.me is probably the easiest to use of these. And as you can see, I've generated a code there. And you can actually, then they have tie-ins to getting products using it. And that's one of the ways in which they generate income. However, in Windows, I use the QR code generator in a search in the Windows Store. There were 2 of them. I installed both, and the QR code for Windows doesn't seem to work. But the barcode generator does, and it's very easy to use. Here is the codex, the first one, and I just couldn't make it work. I can't uninstall it. It's just kind of stuck there. The barcode generator, however, gives me 12 different ways or codes under QR code, and then you can actually do UPC codes as well with this generator. but you see I've got some that I've generated, and here's all the ones that I have generated using each of the types of codes that I can generate. So how do we capture a QR code? Well, let's do a demo and take a look on how I did it with my smartphone. We're switching now to my Android phone, which is a Samsung. First, we're going to look at a barcode, and it's a telephone number, and immediately it sets it up so I can call that number. Let's look at the next one, which is a contact. As soon as we see it, it's the information, contact information, then can be added to our phone book. Now we're going to look at a text, and it was just nonsense text, but it was about 2,000 characters in that. Now we've got one of a login to a Wi-Fi network, and just by clicking it, it will then connect. And here's finally a Facebook connection. How do we use a QR code? Once you've created your QR codes, you can download files, print them as sheets of stickers, place in a PowerPoint presentation, place on a flyer, or in a newsletter, or just email them to yourself or someone else. You can generate your own QR code, and then you and your code are sent to print-on-demand websites to add to your QR code to a t-shirt, a coffee cup, a hat, a business card, stickers, and more. You can use a QR code for a menu. Some restaurants may have it. If you own a restaurant, you can create one as a point of contact to get to your menu. And as we mentioned last week, there are a lot of life-saving information via QR codes and different ways to do it. This is one way where you create the QR code, put it on a little device that sits on the end of the band of your watch. There are some unique uses for a QR code. Somebody thought, well, they put their information on a QR code and put "Hire Me" on their graduation cap. There are other uses. This is from Etsy, and you can order various products with QR codes printed on them for information. You can put QR codes in a newsletter. Contactless ordering using a QR code is yet another use of a QR code. Or you can put a link to the playlist for Tech for Seniors as a barcode. So if you have a barcode reader on your phone and you're watching this, if you click that, your QR reader, you will get the playlist for Tech for Seniors. One final word on QR codes: always check that your QR code works before sharing and using it. I'm Hewie Poplock. We've been talking about QR codes, what they are, and how we can use them. Thanks for joining.
Ron Brown with Tech for Seniors. Sleep tracking with a watch. Hocus pocus? How does it work? Does it work? Which one is the best? Stay tuned and watch this video and you'll find out. Sleep trackers. How do they work? How do they gather the data? Today we're going to look at the Fitbit Sense and the Galaxy Watch 4, and we're going to do a head-to-head comparison and see which one is the best. Now, full disclaimer, I purchased both these watches out of my hard-earned retirement money. I am not sponsored, and the opinions in this video are mine alone. Now remember, if you like this video, please click the like, and if you want to subscribe to the channel, we'd sure appreciate it because it would help make more videos. Now let's get on with the show. So what is sleep? We need to define this before we can analyze it. Well, sleep is a naturally recurring state of mind and body, characterized by altered consciousness. Of course, we go to sleep, we get a bit tired. Relatively inhibited sensory activity. In other words, we don't hear or see. And reduced muscle activity and inhibition of nearly all voluntary muscles during REM sleep. Have you ever noticed if you have a bad dream and you're trying to call out, you can't call? That's because when your eyes are moving fast and you're in REM sleep, your muscles are paralyzed. Interesting, eh? With reduced interactions with surroundings, it is distinguished from wakefulness by a decreased ability to react to stimuli. You can usually push people and they probably wouldn't wake up. Some do if they're in a lighter sleep, but deep sleep you probably wouldn't. But more reactive than a coma or disorders of consciousness, with sleep displaying different active brain patterns. Well, let's look at these brain patterns now. Sleep is made up of 4 stages. There's the awake stage. We then move into a light sleep stage, then a deeper sleep, followed by a lighter sleep, which is REM, or the rapid eye movement sleep. So the 4 stages of sleep are awake, light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. So let's look at the stages of sleep. Stage 1 is a light sleep, or the awake sleep, and this is just as you're closing your eyes and moving into a early sleep stage. Then we have the light sleep, and this is where, or stage 2, and this is where your heart rate slows down and your body temperature goes down a bit. Then we moved into a deep sleep, and deep sleep is where the repair of your muscles and organs in your body occurs. This is where all the healing occurs. It's like the fountain of youth. If we could just make all our sleep deep sleep, we would probably get younger as we get older. Pretty cool, eh? But deep sleep is where the big stuff happens. Then we're followed by REM, which is the rapid eye movement sleep. This usually follows deep sleep and is a much lighter sleep. But remember, your eyes are moving and you're paralyzed. Interesting. We'll see how this works in a minute. Now, through the night, you go through different sleep cycles. And how many cycles you go through is highly variable. But in this diagram, you'll see that we have about 5 cycles that someone would have gone through. And you'll see that you move from stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. You get into deep sleep. Then as you come out of the sleep, there's a period of REM, and then you go back down. And so through your night, you go through different cycles of these stages of sleep. And this is how it normally works. Polysomnography. Oh boy, I get to use some complicated terminology. Well, I'm a doctor. I should be able to do that, right? So polysomnography. No, it's polysomnography. There you go. And this is the art of actually recording and interpreting your sleep. And how we do this is through a polysomnogram, or a PSG. And this is done by someone who might be a polysomnographer. Right, that's right. So this is the art of defining and analyzing your sleep patterns overnight. Now, if you see on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see a gentleman who is hooked up, and you'll see some stickies on his head. These are, of course, the EEG. You'll see a little pulse oximeter on his finger. We're going to measure his oxygen. And you'll also see some sticky things on his chest. We're going to do his ECG. And there's multiple other sensors on there, leading to an analysis overnight, which is called a polysomnogram, or a PSG. And this is what would be produced in a sleep lab to diagnose the different stages of sleep. So how does a watch do that? Certainly when you wear your watch overnight and it tells you all these sleep things, it's not having all that stuff stuck all over you. It's doing it through the sensors in the back of the watch. Now, what do these sensors measure? Well, they measure your respiratory rate, heart rate variability, movement, and temperature. Those are the basic sensors that we have in the back of our watch, and both the Fitbit Sense and Galaxy Watch 4 have. So how does it take that information and tell you what your brainwaves are doing? Hold on here. Remember, the sleep analysis that we just looked at is brainwaves in your brain. How do they take those features we just discussed and come up with how much REM sleep you had? Well, that's very interesting. And that's what we call an algorithm. And this is how each of the companies do it, and they have their own proprietary algorithm. They take that data and come up with the results which we're going to talk about today. Now, how do they do that? They won't tell us. And each proprietary standard is different. And there are no standards. Each device has its own calculation. And did you know you get a $10 watch that has sensors on it that will tell you exactly how you slept at night? But nobody knows how they create the data. There's a great deal of variation, as you'll see today in our analysis between the devices, and there certainly is no standardization to medical definition. So I took my Fitbit Sense on one wrist and my Galaxy Watch 4 on the other and went to bed. I did this for 3 nights and analyzed the data. So let's see what I found. So before we look at the data, I'd like you to look at my medical history. Later in life, I had a more difficult time sleeping. At my request about 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with sleep apnea and have worn a CPAP machine while sleeping. The CPAP machine probably saved my life. I can plead with you, if you think you have sleep apnea, please get checked out, because it really is a life-changing experience to finally be able to sleep. I still have problems getting to sleep though. I don't take any sleeping medication, and I don't take any medication that would interfere with my sleep. Now, as you can see in the diagram here on the right side, my sleep surroundings are excellent. This is day 1. Now, my assessment of how I slept was a little less than average. Now let's look at the time slept. How long did I sleep for that night? Well, I look in the center, you'll see my CPAP recording, and this is the time on the CPAP machine was 7 hours and 22 minutes. Now this is pretty exact because when I wear my CPAP machine, I put it on just as I get into bed and I take it off when I get out of bed. So we know this is the exact time that I had the CPAP machine on. Now, in some CPAP machines, it might say something about sleep time. This is a misnomer. The number you see here is simply time on machine. Now, if you look on the left side in the dark area, you'll see it. The Galaxy Watch 4 tells me I slept for 6 hours and 23 minutes. And it did an analysis and said my sleep score is 59, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. On the right side, it says the Fitbit Sense said my sleep time was 5 hours and 15 minutes. Okay, well, a little bit of difference there. Now, if you look down on the Galaxy Watch 4, you'll see that the graph shows that I started out sleep, and then I went into a deep sleep, then I came up, and then I had some REM sleep, and then woke up around midnight, probably to have a pee, then back down into sleep, but I didn't get back into deep sleep. Anyway, you can follow the graph along there, and you'll see about 3 a.m. things started to go wrong, and I just couldn't really sleep, tossed and turned, probably worried about a show or something that I was doing, and so I didn't have a super good night. And look at the data, you can see the various sleep stages and the time that I was in those stages. Now, the same thing happens over on the other side. If you look at the Fitbit Sense, you'll see the graph below and all the different stages that I was in. But if you compare the analysis between the Galaxy Watch 4 and the Fitbit Sense, you'll see that in deep sleep, the Fitbit Sense said that I had 42 minutes of deep sleep, whereas the Galaxy Watch 4 said I only had 16 minutes. Well, that's a big difference. The Galaxy Watch 4 said that I was in light sleep for around 4 hours, and the Fitbit Sense said I was in light sleep for 4 hours and 18 minutes. The Galaxy Watch 4 showed me as sort of the early stages of sleep is 1 hour and 21 minutes, but the Fitbit Sense only said I was in that stage for 47 minutes. So right off the bat, you can see that, well, the total time was fairly straightforward between the two. The actual analysis of the different stages is really quite different. Also, the assessment of my sleep was probably right on. Both the Fitbit Sense and Galaxy Watch 4 rated me as fair, and I think that was a reasonable assessment of how I slept and my clinical analysis of that. So let's look at day 2. All right, so this is day 2, and I had a terrible sleep. My mind was racing, I couldn't sleep very well, and my evaluation of my sleep that night was just terrible. Okay, so let's look at what actually happened. So if you look in the center, you'll see, yes, my CPAP machine was on for 8 hours. In fact, I was in bed hooked up to my machine for 8 hours. Well, let's see how much of that I slept. Well, the Galaxy Watch 4 gave me a very poor score at 26, and I would agree with that. I don't think that was a very good assessment. I don't think I slept very well. All right, let's see what my actual sleep time was. 4 hours. Well, okay, how did that compare to the Fitbit Sense? Well, again, the Fitbit Sense got it almost right at 4 hours and 19 minutes. That's pretty close, both of them. But let's again look at the stages of sleep. All right, we have deep sleep on the Fitbit Sense of 56 minutes, and we have no deep sleep at all in the with the Galaxy Watch 4. But first, what did we learn? Well, we learned that sleep scores vary between devices. We know that stages of sleep are recorded differently, and the time spent in each stage is highly variable. I had a great sleep on day 3. I had a great sleep, and I went back to sleep a little bit later as well, and you can see that in my sleep score. So let's look at the time on with my CPAP machine, which means the time I was in bed connected to the machine was 8 hours and 35 minutes. Well, that's pretty good, I think. And the Galaxy Watch 4 agreed with me. They said that I was sleeping for 8 hours and 16 minutes. That's pretty cool. And they gave me a sleep score of 64. Well, that was certainly a lot better than the 24 I got with the poor sleep. So yes, that makes sense. Let's go to look over and see what the Fitbit Sense said. Well, they said I didn't have a good night's sleep. They gave me a poor rating, and they said my sleep time was 2 hours and 39 minutes. What? 2 hours and 39 minutes versus 8 hours and 16 minutes. There's something different here. So what value are sleep trackers? Well, Dr. Alan Schwartz at the Sleep Disorder Center at Johns Hopkins Bayview Medical Center says, while sleep trackers can collect a lot of information about your slumber habits, there's one important thing they generally don't do, he says, and they don't measure sleep directly. Instead, they often measure inactivity as a surrogate for examining sleep, he explains. Most sleep tracking devices make some guesstimate as to how much you're actually sleeping. And here's the fact, is that these algorithms that take the data that the sleep trackers collect are guessing. And that's why there's such a high variability between individual sleep trackers. So the final word, for exact data about your sleep habits, you'd have to do a medical sleep study, remember that we talked about earlier, which monitors brainwave activity to analyze the various stages of sleep that you cycle through each night. Now, how do sleep trackers you wear around the wrist work? They guess. They guess at the data that they're getting, and it's highly variable. So in summary, tracking devices are useful to observe trends in your sleep. It allows you to modify your environment, food take, alcohol use, or local surroundings and see results. It also allows you to develop more interest in a serious problem that can affect your health, insomnia. Also, it provides some user-friendly graphs and reports that are helpful to reflect on, but not replace the medical advice from your healthcare provider. So which watch won? Well, that's hard to know. I think that they're probably about the same. I think the results of sleep tracking are amusing at best. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. Please watch my upcoming video called The Misunderstood Galaxy Watch 4, which should be out in about a week. Till we meet again, Have a great day.
What's the difference between a firewall and a VPN? Let me start off by saying that both are essential for network security. You've probably heard of a firewall. You may have heard of a VPN, but what's the difference? Since we're living in a time when most people are ultra conscious of germs and what they're touching, maybe the easiest way to explain the differences between a firewall and a VPN is like this. Think of a firewall as a rubber glove. It blocks bad stuff from getting to you, but it also does more than that. A VPN is more like an invisible cloak. It keeps the bad guys from knowing your location and activities. Unfortunately, it can't block viruses, so it's always good to pair a VPN with a firewall and antivirus software. Companies usually use VPNs to let employees securely access remote servers from locations outside the office, while regular folks make use of VPNs when surfing the web in their coffee shop of choice. Firewalls are used by both home and corporate networks to protect computers and devices. What is a VPN? A virtual private network hides your IP address, which is the string of numbers that identifies your device. It works by routing your network connection through a remote server, protecting you from those trying to find your location and other valuable data. A VPN is essential when you're using public Wi-Fi or working remotely, as it encrypts your traffic and protects your information while it's in transit. It's like a private line to directly access a corporate server or a secure network from anywhere. When you use a VPN, your internet service provider, government websites, and the websites you often visit won't have a way of knowing your true location. If you really care about your browsing privacy and data security, a VPN is your best bet. On the downside, as previously mentioned, a VPN can protect your computer from viruses. You can't set up security rules on VPNs. To monitor for and erase viruses, you'll need antivirus software. To block viruses from entering your network and to prevent data from being stolen, you'll need a firewall. So what are firewalls? A firewall watches incoming and outgoing traffic on your network. Firewalls block attacks automatically and also allow you to set security preferences for what you let into your network or computer. If you don't program a firewall to block a certain kind of site, content, or traffic, it won't, even if that site has content that could hurt your system. There are actually two types of firewalls: a hardware or network firewall. Hardware firewalls are physical devices that are placed between your computer and the internet. Their disadvantage is that they are separate devices that often require professional support for configuration and maintenance. Software firewalls. Software firewalls can control the internet access and behavior of programs on your computer. Most computer operating systems include a basic built-in software firewall feature, but firewall software is also available separately from computer stores and trusted online vendors. If you are tech savvy, use both. For virtually all home systems, the software firewall is more than adequate. So what should you use? A firewall or a VPN? The answer is both. Set up a firewall along with a VPN. A VPN, like Avast Secure Line VPN, will hide your online activity and allow you to transfer data securely without slowing down your connection, even on public Wi-Fi. But alone, it can't protect your devices from downloaded viruses or spyware. If you click a bad link on a malicious site, you may still be vulnerable, so a firewall will let you know before you visit potentially harmful sites. Even if you don't consider yourself to be tech savvy, Avast Advanced Firewall can be quickly customized to your settings with simple controls. A smart profile setting automatically detects the number of devices on your network and sets your profile to private or public mode to protect you from intruders. Installing an efficient and strong firewall around your network is essential. It's a great way to secure your system from invasion and data theft. Comprehensive protection should include a firewall, VPN, and an intuitive antivirus program like Avast Free Antivirus. The latest Avast Free Antivirus also includes a firewall. Avast SecureLine VPN is an excellent addition to round out your protection. I've used their free antivirus product since 2003. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.